Because you're recording it.
Yes, we are. Do you want us to stop the recording?
No. You can share it with me so that I need not take
obviously,
notes.
we'll share it with you. Definitely, sir.
So I need not take notes.
No, you're most welcome. We'll share it with you, and obviously, we can circle back for any other information that you want from us.
Okay.
So, thank you so much for taking this time out from your schedule.
Yeah, I couldn't make it because I think my editor was not well, so I think he's not attended any mail during that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was hospitalized. That's what he told me.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's okay now?
Yeah. He had some back spasm, so he had to be hospitalized.
Okay, got it. Understood. All right. Yeah.
What's really happening?
Sorry, we lost you there, sir.
No, what is the latest and what's really happening right now?
Okay, fantastic. So a lot of things happening at our end, a lot of things going on very well. So I believe that I think the most important thing that we'd like to talk to you about is the fact that we are already, in the last 3 years, we've tripled our asset under management, and we are on route to double it again this year. So we had reached a peak output of about 5,500 to 6,000 crores last year. We believe that we'll close this year at 11,500 plus crores of asset under management. So that's a very big deal for a company, specifically from a perspective that you see, if you look at the sector itself, the sector has been going through a tumultuous phase in the last 4 years. When I talk about the sector itself, and also from the other fact that you see during COVID, our online systems that we had devised have actually pleased our customers to such a degree that the customer absorption and adaptation as well as conversion has reached a tumultuous, or it's reached a point where which has allowed us to grow this fast in such a small time.
Okay.
So one important point was that. Second important point was that if you've been following a little bit of us, we've been launching a slew of technological products, which we are not being launched from a perspective of being technological products, but being launched from a perspective of adding transparency, efficiency into the agri sector. So our mantra was always very clear, sir. We said that we do not want to develop technology for the sake of technology. See, the technology has to, in agriculture, our understanding is technology has to be a part and parcel of our daily lives in such a way that it improves our life. So it can't be that I've developed a technology and then I'm looking for finding a fit for it. The whole idea is that since we are spread across 9,600 locations across India and Myanmar, and we are looking at such a large tonnage and such a large asset under management, for us to identify a problem on the ground, and then work backwards, that was always been our mission. So for the last 7-8 years, one issue that we were seeing was the quality checking of particular products at agricultural background. So let me explain what I'm trying to say, sir. Not everywhere is there a laboratory. So if you look at this, if you look at all locations, and let's not only talk about warehousing, let's talk about the entire agri supply chain. See, agri supply chain is the transaction of agriculture is happening at the field level. It's happening at the truck level. It's happening at mandi level. It's happening at consumption level. It's happening at warehousing level. It's happening everywhere. So even if you said that you had the best of best agriculture laboratories at the select locations, this does not bring a lot of comfort to the trader or to the person who is actually transacting that commodity.
Okay.
Second problem that we were also facing when we were looking at the ground is that you see, when you are checking a quality of a particular produce, and when you're transacting it, the time required between the quality report coming to you and the transaction time required was very large. So let me elaborate what I'm saying. When goods are coming in, let's say in March, April, May, the farmer wants to sell his produce immediately. But your lab results, by the fact that the lab is, let's say, 20 kilometers away, or 5 kilometers away, or 10 kilometers away, the lab results at best were coming in 4 to 5 hours of time, at best. In actual reality, lab results are in T+1 day. When I say T+1 day, how it works is that the truck has got unloaded at the warehouse today. The sample has been withdrawn. Then the sample is physically sent to the laboratory. The laboratory takes its good time, and then the results are populated. Now, in that T+1 day, the farmer or the trader has 2 or 3 options. One option is that he actually waits for the result to come across, which actually dilutes his entire trade flow. When I say dilutes his entire trade flow, it dilutes 3 things. It dilutes his credit, because no money has got transacted to him. Two, it dilutes his paraphernalia in terms of he's got the goods from one place to another place on a truck, and now he cannot understand or either take it back if he doesn't like the price. So that's another expense to him. And more importantly is that he has lost touch of 1.5 days during the time when the arrivals are at the peak.
Okay.
Right. So what we understood was that there has to be a way of looking at quality instantaneously. At the same time, it has to be transparent. Why? Because you can come back and say that even today traders or processors or RTAs are transacting or farmers are transacting a commodity. If you look at how they transacted, they look at the quality on their hands at the field level itself or at the transaction level itself, ascertain the quality and put a price to it.
Okay.
Now, the entire ascertaining of a quality at that moment itself is very archaic. It's very, I would say, translucent. Why I say translucent is that you have no parameters to debunk. The guy has said that this is quality grade B or grade C. You can't go back and tell him, no, this is not grade C or grade D. Why? Because there is no scientific parameter. You have to rely on what you have to say. And the other idea was that you take it to a lab and then wait for 2 days.
Okay.
Just keep this in your background. Now let me talk to you about something totally different so that you can correlate what I'm trying to say. Today, sir, when you are buying an Android phone or an Apple phone, a consumption item, it's a necessary item, but it's a consumption item. Why? Because the phone, whether you buy an Apple phone of 1 lakh rupees or you buy an Android phone of 40,000 or 30,000 rupees, they actually do pretty much the same job. But that phone of yours, which is the medium for you to transact with the rest of the society, itself now comes with coded features wherein they are recognizing your thumbprint or your facial. They recognize your face and unlocks itself, right? You've gone through this on your daily lives. So what dawned on to us 5 years ago, not now, but 5 years ago, what dawned on to us is that if artificial intelligence can recognize my face, can recognize different patterns of my hand, then it is very much possible that artificial intelligence, if trained properly and if put scientifically into the system, can actually get trained to recognize crops. Now, put this into perspective that how India is testing crops. Most of the crops that India tests, not India, world tests, are of physical parameters. So if you talk about wheat, let's talk about wheat, the largest crop in India. Except for moisture, which is a parameter, and protein, which is a laboratory parameter in terms of chemical analysis, broken, infestation, damaged, shriveled, immature grains, these are all physical parameters. And when you see a physical parameter, that means when your eyes can ascertain that parameter and tell you that this is too much of broken, or it is too much of shriveled, or it is too much of infested, automatically, if my eyes can see that, I'm very sure that my AI intelligence system should also be able to decipher it if it is trained properly. So 7 years ago, sir, and this is where the ball drops for us. 7 years ago, we embarked on this ambitious project of training a artificial intelligence system under our agri-reach umbrella to start looking at a crop and giving us the results. And I'm happy to tell you this is about 4 months ago, we commercialized this technology. We've commercialized this. And what this technology does, sir, is you may be anywhere in the world. You only require your mobile phone. You don't even require any other hardware. You click the photograph of the crop, and within 45 seconds, you will get results of that crop on your mobile itself, which is equivalent to the testing of an NABL lab with as much as accuracy of 90% of an NABL lab. So what we are trying to say is that if you had taken your crop to a laboratory, which is an NABL lab, the results that would have so come out and the results which our application is giving has a 90% correlation, which actually takes away the delta of what was happening earlier. Today, you were relying on the crop assessment to buy an RTA or a trader or a processor and on his bank, not on his laboratory also. So you did not have a choice, right? And you could not debunk that he's saying it's grade B, grade C. You could have said no or yes. But now we've introduced that technology, and the best part, sir, is that we've introduced it free of cost. Okay. We've given it to the society free of cost initially. We are saying you please test this, and now this technology of ours is already developed for wheat. It is developed now for chana. We are going to launch chana in the next 2 weeks, approximately, and we are developing 4 more crops which will be launched before 31st of March 2023. These 6 crops, so we are developing it for mustard, soybean, guar seed. So the major crops, if you look at the majority of Indian crops, we're developing it for that. And at the same time, sir, these are now live. For wheat, it is live at about 5,000 locations in India between us.
Okay.
And the turnaround time is 45 seconds.
Okay. Now, you launched a beta version last year, isn't it? On the same.
Yes.
So you have now gone live with it.
Yes, we've launched the beta last year. We've gone live this year itself. And now after going live, it is already functioning at these locations. It's not that it's functioning. The results that are coming out are on a daily basis, and it's in within 45 seconds you are getting your results.
How many locations you said? 5,000.
Sorry, 5,000 locations. Yes, sir.
Okay. So the 4 months, how many farmers or how many people would have made use of this?
Correct. So, sir, Yogendra ji, you have that data, the agri-reach data on the Lalit ji sends that agri-reach data on how many locations, how many places is this happening. I'll just get that print. So I'll just I'll share with you the entire statistics in a minute, which will be the latest statistics. So basically what we are saying is that now the interaction has become so fast, sir, is that what was happening earlier, sir. So look at the fallback plan of this. One is that the transparency has happened, but also important to you is you please look at the flow of money now. Earlier, what was happening was for a bank to fund a warehouse receipt of a wheat, they were waiting for the quality aspect to come across. This would have happened in 4 to 5 to 7 to 8 hours, whatever, depending upon how close or how far it was from a laboratory, right? And that also the sample, the quality aspect that was coming exactly was not exactly discovered as well, because you were relying on somebody else. And also you were relying on the fiduciary duty that the sample which was drawn from the crop is the same sample which is getting tested at the lab. So a lot of lapses were there. Having said so, banks were still financing it 2 to 3 days after the goods had got in the warehouse. Now, because of this technology, banks are funding these within 1 day. So look at the credit flow to the small farmer. Look at the power it has given to a small farmer who earlier had to wait 3 days to get a bank funding done, not because of his fault and not because of the bank's fault also, but because of the process. Now the process itself has, and second important thing is this process has become transparent because the results which are populated on the app get shared immediately with all the stakeholders. For example, the farmer said that I'm sending it to, let's say, a miller. Example, a farmer is saying I'm sending it to the miller. Instantaneously, if he allows us, the same quality report is sent to the miller itself. So the miller and the farmer are both at the same page. What is the quality of the crop which is lying there? Having said so, the transaction becomes seamless immediately because the miller is relying on that quality application and so is the farmer. So there is no dispute on the quality. Now you multiply this at the fact that if government of India is going to procure so many million tons, and then there is such a large ruckus at the time of procurement that the quality reports are not correct or so, and if this gets implemented on nationwide level, look at what proportion I'm talking about.
Okay.
So this is the most important development that we've developed in the last 6 months. It's gone commercial. I am going to give you the data in the next 5 minutes as to how many locations, how many QCs have been done through this, for how many banks, as well as how many consumers.
Fine. Okay.
So that's one important thing. The second important thing that during COVID that we also learned was, and which we understood was that while everybody of us and a lot of these companies are looking at technology from an end process of transparency and getting data on real-time basis, what was not happening was that you could not have your eyes on the crop all the time. So basically, let me elaborate what I'm trying to say. CCTVs were not being installed at warehouses for three basic reasons. One, the infrastructure of the warehouse was not allowing a CCTV to be installed. Two, electricity problems. And three, most of the warehouses were of stopgap arrangement. If I were to invest in CCTVs in a permanent nature in a warehouse, and the warehouse is on a rent for me, this was such a large extra cost for us that it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense for us. So during COVID, we developed a technology which we called Agri Suraksha. And what does Agri Suraksha do, sir? Just like Agri Reach, it allows us to install CCTV into places where there is no light, where there is no network, and allows us to remotely manage and remotely authenticate what is happening on the ground. So basically, Agri Suraksha allows us to put CCTVs even on an open ground where there is no electricity. It is an independent SIM-based application. It talks to a nerve center within our HO, And all the warehouses which are high value warehouses for us are now monitored under this. So under that program, 819 warehouses have been covered across
Okay.
across to 11 states. Just to give you numbers here. Now
Okay.
that this also actually gives a lot of transparency to all the stakeholders. You are holding your crop in our warehouses. You don't want to move out of your house, or you don't want to move out of your office. You were relying on only my statement that the crop is okay. Now you don't even have to rely on that. You can log on, look at your crop online.
Okay.
Now, take this example further to a bank. You had pledged this to a bank. Bank wants to know. So, see, look at it namely, as I was always saying, that a bank puts CCTVs on an ATM machine, which has a risk of 40 lakh rupees. It keeps two guards, but it is keeping crores of goods in a warehouse, financing it, but they don't have CCTV coverage. So we discovered a unique program, not discovered, we formulated a unique program which allowed us to take care, as I said, 10 years ago when I came into into the warehousing industry, we came with the mantra that warehousing is all about management. It is not about infrastructure. The infrastructure might be good, bad, ugly, but you can still do warehousing in an efficient manner to give you the results that you want. Similarly, today we have come and rediscovered this and told to the economy that CC monitoring or monitoring of your crop does not need infrastructure. It can be done using satellite imagery. It can be done using CCTV cameras which are satellite monitored, and we can give you results immediately. So these are very, very important developments that we've spoken about.
Okay. You have another patent also. I mean, patent on one more thing like agri.
Yeah, correct. So these are two patents that you agree. So AgriReach was already a patent that we had got. AgriReach was nothing. AgriReach is a slew of audit processes which allows us to deliver the consistent results, cut down post-harvest losses from 10% to 0.5% using a technological backbone that we already have. Right now, this is very important that AgriReach patent stood test of time for 12 years, and after that, finally we got a patent last year for that.
Okay.
That was first patent. Second patent is the one that we've applied for, is the quality application patent that I spoke to you about.
Okay.
The quality application using a mobile app.
Okay. Fine.
So that's the second application that we've just developed, as I've said. So that's the second part. Agri Suraksha, which is our third technological development, which we talk about CCTV coverage, we have not applied for patent. We are trying to cover it under our AgriReach program itself.
Okay, fine.
That's what we're trying to do. So this itself has made us grow that large. As I said, you see, we've grown 3x, and now we are again trying to grow 2x on the larger base. Is because of these technological developments, because this gives a lot of comfort, transactional transparency, speed, and execution capability. That's also important.
Now you're talking about wheat, the app also doing something. I mean, assessing the quality of wheat and the thing it's been carrying on. Now, what we found is that this year, farmers were very, very, what I would say, little hesitant in releasing the stocks they had with them. They've been slowly releasing based on the price. And what we have found is now arrivals have really increased. Like during August and September, I think we have had a 12-year high arrivals of wheat. Are you witnessing that at your end also?
Yes. So basically, what has happened is that, you see, that's what we have been saying. The macroeconomic environment in wheat this year was that because of the Ukraine-Russia war, the external pressures on pricing has been quite large. Okay. So when I say external pressure, so what we've seen is that logically all large wheat farmers, traders, millers were holding on to some part of their crop to realize better value for it. But having said that, we are also seeing that in the March crop, we are only 5 months out for the new crop to come out. Yeah. The sowing has already started happening, and some it's already happened. So the acreage, so our early estimates, we believe that the acreage as well as the coverage and the output of the crop that is going to be expected next year is going to be fairly larger than what it was last year. But these are very, I would let me put it with a point of contention here. These are very, very basic estimates right now. So we would not. Very preliminary, very preliminary estimate. So we would not want to base our research on this as of date. But what we believe is that the remnants of something like this is what you are seeing in the economy, where a lot of traders and people are actually offloading the crop today. So you are rightly pointed. The arrivals have peaked. The arrivals have picked up over the last about 2 months. A lot of transactions are happening on the wheat front, and we also believe that if the macroeconomic environment, which is Russia-Ukraine war, is not me, it's not about it being settled even now. The problem, sir, is as follows. Even if the war gets settled today, with due respect, the sowing period of Ukraine is already gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's over. So even if the war settles, the only thing that is going to get streamlined is that the supplies which are already in those warehouses in those countries would get released. But there will be no new supply of no new grain because the effect of cultivation has already happened.
Yeah, I agree.
The effect of cultivation has already happened. So you will not say that because the war's gotten over, immediately next year we'll have a larger crop. That is not going to happen in these countries. So we are looking at a 2-year cycle before normalcy even returns to this entire cycle. Now, having said that, India is comfortably placed from a wheat and a rice perspective, right? The Indian government is taking due diligence steps to ensure that the Indian supply chain does not get disrupted due to over-export or over-import, whatever the exim policy, to be precise. The farmers and the traders and the FPO bodies which are indulging in wheat today are understanding this. They are educated lots. So let me tell you, this one thing which has become very good with due course of time is the transparency of information which is coming across from all over the world. And that information is available for everybody. It's not a domain of me or you. It's available to a smallest of the smallest farmer. So they are taking some educated decisions. So one educated decision they are taking is obviously they have said that, okay, because I can see a larger crop coming in next year from domestic Indian point of view. So let me offload my crop, whatever I have today at such prices which are available today to me. So that one thing we are also witnessing on the ground. We are also witnessing that there has been second thing which we are also witnessing is that farmers or traders are also looking at their cash flow, sir. Typically, their cash flow. See, typically what happens is that they would pledge a particular crop till Diwali. Typically, this is a typical cycle. And on Diwali or post Diwali or when the marriage season comes, basically, if you look at this, जिसे हिंदी में बोलते हैं साया, the marriage season which is going to come in November, December is the time when farmers would like to cash on to their crops to make sure of their payments. Now, those payments could be towards consumption, towards marriage, towards investment, towards new crop, etc. So all these are coupled together. That will explain to you logically why the crop pattern or why the crop availability has actually gone up in the last 4 weeks to 5 weeks.
And this year we are going to have more days compared to last year.
Exactly. Yes.
Marriage season will be a big one this year.
Yes, it's going to be a bigger marriage season. You're right. And the other important point is that the effect of COVID. There has been an overhang of 2 years of people being affected with COVID. So now that is behind us. So a lot of people are looking at a larger consumption, and which is also evident in the consumption cycle of India. If you look at the consumption cycle on consumer goods, it is right now peaking.
Tractor, vehicle, all the sales are up.
Yes, they're all showing big numbers today on consumption.
Okay. So you're expecting consumption also to pick up.
Yes, I believe the between now to January consumption is going to pick up. Definitely, we believe that. But as I said, India is very comfortable on the supply chain as on date. So we do not see any disruption going to happen. We are not. What we are seeing is that the occupancies on the warehousing levels will become lesser now. Why? Because the occupancies at peak, the people had kept a lot of storage. Now they're getting rid of that storage. So from warehousing perspective, we feel that, and this is normal cycle. This is nothing new. This is nothing abnormal. It's normal. Generally, it happens. Because obviously you will also see that even government for that matter is actually offloading a lot of crops on the open markets because they are also preparing for the next season to come across, which will start from February onwards.
And talking about warehousing, like what has happened is last week, I think the food secretary was telling CWC and also FCI saying that, he was wondering why they can't let out the warehouses in the urban areas to e-commerce firms and other things. Now, when that comes, will you be also looking at the renting, or how do you see this?
So actually, Subramanian, this actually brings home the point that we've always been speaking. Now, if you look at the history of Sohanlal, for the last 9 years, I would request if you just even surf through your articles. you will understand we've always been saying that, India has misplaced their priorities by saying that infrastructure is not there. It's a complete case of misplacement of priorities, misjudging the atmosphere on the ground. We kept on saying that we are losing crops because of bad infrastructure is not there. And today the food secretary himself coming back and saying, hey, why don't you let out your warehouses to e-commerce players on the, which are based out of, let's say, metros and semi-urban areas. This itself brings to the point that automatically, which means is that there's no occupancy on the warehouses which are already present, which is a sharp contrast to what we were saying earlier. We were saying there's no infrastructure. See, please understand, for the last 20 years, this country, we have been saying there's no infrastructure, hence our crops are going bad. Now suddenly we turn around and say, no, we have excess infrastructure, that's why let it out to e-commerce companies, but not for crops. The basic fact, sir, is as follows. India always, see, warehousing, as I said, and agri-warehousing is always a management style. It is not about infrastructure. You cannot force the crop to, for example, if a crop is getting produced in Karnal, you can't force it to get stored in Delhi. It's illogical. Why it's illogical? Because the cost of transportation and the cost of interaction is prohibitive. The sector itself does not have such a large margin that it can absorb such a cost of keep on transporting goods from one sector to another to third. So automatically it means was that your management style has to be such that your crop, wherever it is there, it should be managed there. And that is what most companies are now developing or have developed. Companies like us had developed this 9 years ago. A lot of new companies are trying to develop this. So very interesting article today. I'll tell you a very interesting article, I think on Hindu itself, on Bihar trying to go to SAP to streamline their supply chain. It's on today's newspapers. Right. Why interesting, sir? Sonal did this 9.5 years ago. We did this 9.5 years ago. Okay. What is new? There's nothing new. See, that's what I'm saying. You see, this is where we are finding that a lot of people are not understanding the agriculture sector. The agriculture sector was always a very tricky sector to be in, but the education of people running that sector from a perspective of the ground was misplaced. I shouldn't say they weren't educated, I'm saying they were misplaced. The priorities, their understanding. See, one understanding was this, that there was no infrastructure, which we are today ourselves are admitting that let's let out warehouses. The second misplaced, let me tell you the second misplaced concept which is becoming very relevant today. That the supply chain is fragmented. That's the second misplaced. Why? They say let us do the trading on an application. Let me put an app, let my people trade just like e-commerce happens. Now in agriculture commodities, this is not going to happen that quickly. Why? Because agriculture commodities is not about trading alone on an application. It's about fulfillment of that order. Unlike an order that you place on Amazon for, let's say, a Sony TV example, wherein the product is already designed, defined, packed. You know that this product specification is going to come to you. So Amazon can do that fulfillment while having fulfillment centers at different places, and it's only a logistics part, or it's a trucking and a logistics nightmare, or whatever you would like to say. But in agriculture, the quality specification, the packing standards, all these need to be defined. So just because you have an application which says I will trade, and two guys will come and trade on it, it doesn't happen. And that is also evident on the eNAM platform. So you will see a lot of, you will look at eNAM, a lot of infrastructure or a lot of emphasis is being placed today on eNAM as to the fact that how do you connect it to the supply chain? Why? Who is going to do the fulfillment? आपने trade तो कर दिया. अब trading के लिए money transfer के लिए तो आपके पास banks है. But grain transfer के लिए आपके पास कौन है? Which is the trucking company? Which is the warehousing company? Which is the quality assessment company? Which is the bagging company? Where are they? They're not there. So the application has to be co-joint. That's what we have been always been saying. The sector has to be looked upon from a joint perspective, not on a silos basis. Abhi ho kya raha hai? We see infrastructure as one, then we see quality as another, then we see banking as another, then we see transportation as another, and we try to fix that. No, you will have to fix the chain. That's what we have been saying.
Now you were talking about silos. I just want to know if Sonal is looking at, the government is also saying now it will encourage private sector to set up their own storages, particularly silos. Are you looking at setting up silos or something like that? Because you are talking about warehouse. I don't know what sort of warehouses you have, but are there plans to set up silos like what the government is setting up for various commodities, like wheat and rice? They have even done for rice now. almost.
Correct. So let me clarify that Sonal was always, we see, while we talk only about warehouses, why? Because of the size of what we manage in warehousing is very large. But we seldomly talk about cold storage and silos. We also manage silos and we also manage cold storage, just to let you know.
Okay.
But we don't own any of these. We are very clear that we've not. Now, is there a thought within in the management and the board of the company that should we go ahead and build silos? Right now, our answer to that is we will want to wait to see a more stronger supply chain network on the ground before we devote larger capital to silos. And let me explain why I'm saying that, sir. Is
Yeah.
silos only allow one pertinent crop to be stored in one location. Silos does not allow multiple crops to be stored.
Yeah.
Second important thing is silos does not allow multiple grades of the same commodity to be also stored. So if you're talking about, let's say, wheat, so only Dada quality of wheat may be stored, but not Durum or not some other quality. So silos doesn't allow you to do that, which means that for a silos to be applicable on a commercially viable perspective, either it has to be backed by a government of India contract. That's why you see most of the silos are being backed by government of India contracts, where government says that I am going to contractually obligate myself as rentals against the silos. Or they are built for captive consumptions by large millers themselves. Captive consumption, where the miller knows that I'm going to consume this crop over the next 2 years, so I will build, instead of storing it in my warehouse, I will do it in my silos. So till the time we do not see a unified trade fraternity on the ground, which will allow private consumption to do larger stocking of one particular commodity, I think SLCM would like to hold back and see before we invest anything on that front.
Fine. Anything else, sir?
No, thank you so much. I'm yet to share with you the stats of the quality application, which I last. Yeah, I'll share it through Vikas so that you have the numbers, exact numbers. I look forward to interacting with you more, sir. And
we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much for your time and your patience, sir.
Happy Diwali.
Yeah.